direction, sets the stage to turn the page. At the raising of the curtain, I am hurting and uncertain of the parts that we have played. Why must the show go on? I can't say these lines again. Why must the show go on? Must I sing this song again? Fading out of the close-up, everybody's reeling, no concealing. Your beauty is seed stealing. Violins are singing, sunset's waiting, radiating. Your entrance is breathtaking. Why must the show go on? I can't say these lines again. Why must the show go on? Must I sing this song again?
Hello, everybody. Drew here from Four Wall Entertainment. Welcome to episode 2 of the Four Wall Sunday Roundtable, November 1st, which is crazy. We say it pretty much every day or every time we do a new month or end of the month. So I am joined.
Hey, we've lost Drew. Drew. Move your hands, shake. Oh, goodness. Hi, everyone. I'm not sure what happened to Drew, but maybe he'll come back in here in a moment. Let's see. Maybe he's having trouble with his background again. It's unfortunately not the first time this happened. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. I think he's back. Let's see.
Was it messing up?
Yeah, you're freezing.
Really?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
It only happens when we actually start going live. Like, it's fine. We talk here for like a half hour before the show starts. Everything's fine. And then we start the show and mayhem ensues.
Yeah. Sorry.
And then I have a heart attack.
Me too. Now my heart's beating like crazy. So
everything's going to be great. Everything's going to be great. We have great guests. You keep blinking on and off, but that's okay. Hi, Drew.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. Yeah, I know. There's like a glitch in the matrix, but it'll get better. It's the green screen, I think.
It's part of the charm.
Yeah.
You good?
Yeah. How was your weekend?
It was good. I voted this week, which felt pretty great.
Awesome.
Now it's just the anxiety for the next few days, like of a lot of others, at least. So I'm not alone with that anxiety. But no, all I can do now is tell people to vote. So please vote. Everybody, please vote. And happy Halloween, Drew.
Yes.
Kate and I were in Brooklyn with a friend and had a really nice chill night last night. Very quiet. There may have been a ritual performed in the hope of exercising the world of certain people. What did you and your family do? Anything fun?
I was set up for trick-or-treaters. I got one at like 9:45, which I thought I was like, wow, it's kind of late. I thought we were done for the night. But what we did for my daughter was we set up like each door had like a small little theme. So she would just walk around each door and knock, and it'd be somebody, me or my in-laws handing out candy. So she got trick-or-treating experience in the house. So we tried our best to make it special for her. And it was definitely interesting. And one of the first like I had, when we spoke earlier, I had said, you know, I had celebrated a birthday during all this, you know, had a baby. I didn't have a baby. My wife had a baby during this. So it's like all these life experiences that you're doing. It's just, it was another weird experience for sure. But
and having to explain it to your daughter that you're trick-or-treating by going from rooms to the house, I'm sure was
exactly.
something.
Yeah, it was kind of like you had to, and now she's, even from when this first started to where we're at now, she's kind of picking up that, you know, the whole germs thing and things are closed. So we're trying to expose her to as much normality as possible.
Yeah. Well,
so
like trick-or-treating in your own house by going to different rooms. That sounds kind of great though. I mean, I feel like you should do that every year. That sounds
it might be, you know, a tradition that we do before. So
cool.
But before we get started with, you know, our guest for episode 22, we are joined by Rain Renshaw from Limelight Wired. Rain, how you doing, man?
Pretty good, man. I just want to know how much leftover candy there is from all the different rooms in your home and what you're planning on doing with it.
Thankfully, you know, I got a couple dentist appointments scheduled out, but yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of candy. And I probably had enough already. But so tell us, you know, last week we couldn't really talk to you real quick because we were trying to keep it under an hour. But before you get started on the Limelight Awards, just tell us a little bit about yourself and what Limelight Wired is for those who've never heard of it.
Okay, my name's Rain. I'm a lighting director out in Las Vegas. I've been working for over 15 years in different various roles and positions and states, and enjoying Vegas right now. Last year, I started an online platform called Limelight Wired, just creating digestible, funny, relatable memes mostly, and grew a small audience. And, you know, now we've evolved into creating some more content that's informational and, you know, gear reviews. And every week we try to get a little better. And that's pretty much it. There's nothing more to it other than me creating content online that other people could benefit from. What would I want to see? And then I put it out there.
Yeah. So if for those who don't know, follow Limelight Wired, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. So let's get into the winners of the Limelight Awards, man.
Sure, let's get out the very official paperwork. First off, thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, no
the Limelights are the People's Choice Awards of gear, and over 300 people submitted votes for nominations that were submitted by you. So, you know, I'm excited to let you guys know today what you have done. Our first category that we're going to announce the winner is Best Gel Color. And with 108 votes, which was 36% of the share of votes, is Lee 181 Congo Blue.
Amazing.
Congrats, Lee. All right. And next we'll have Best Spot Fixture. And with 121 votes, with 40% of the share, is the Roby BMFL Spot.
We have those. We have those available to rent now. Just kidding.
Yeah. Pretty popular fixture. Best Previs Suite with 136 votes, which was 45% of the majority, was Capture.
Nice.
We got a live audience here. It's amazing.
They're social distancing.
Next is Best Watch Fixture, which this was a tight one. So 97 votes was the winner, which was only 32% of the majority, was once again the Roby Spider. Roby was doing some work here.
Yeah.
Like Drake at the Billboard Awards. Next is Best Console Platform, and this was an overwhelming majority with 193 votes. 65% of the majority was Granime 2.
I would have easy money right there.
Yeah. I would have bet that one if it was me. The next is Best Hybrid Fixture. 203 votes. 68% of the majority was the Roby Megapoint.
Nice.
Next is Best Beam Fixture with 174 votes, and 59% of the majority was the Clay Pakey Sharpie. And Best Gobo with 75 votes, and this was slim. The second place category was 73 votes, so this was really close. But with 26% of the majority was Roscoe 77760 Binkley Reflections.
Oh, nice.
And I thought that was just fitting given the past couple weeks that we've had. Anyway, best effect fixture with 138 votes and 46% of the majority. One of my personal favorites, the GOP JDC one.
Love that.
I was impressed that it won, even splitting the GLP votes with the impression. Best PC software with 144 votes and 48% of the majority was Vectorworks.
That was a big
Loving the audience here.
All right, let's see the overall fixture.
All right, last but not least, the best overall fixture with 168 votes, 56% of the majority is the Roby Megapoint once again.
Very good. Thank you, Ray.
Thanks so much.
Ray, we have to have you on. We have to have you come back to defend some of the stuff when we have lighting designers on. I know that Jane Cox had a visceral reaction to the Art 02 even being nominated for one of these things.
And I checked, and I'm not sure she nominated anything. So
come on back. I know.
Vote in your local elections.
Yeah.
And vote for everything, not just for your favorite color. Thanks, Rain.
Thanks,
you
Rain.
come back on sometime. We'll talk more.
All right, man.
Please.
All right. Well, Jeff, let's get started with the episode.
Stage managers, really quick before we start, Art Rich, who was on episode 11, had surgery at the end of last week, and we want to send our thoughts out to his family. If you know Art, please drop him a note. We do hope he gets well soon. Stage managers. All right. As I was thinking about an intro for this, I started to sound like a little stage manager appreciation lecture, but I decided that's okay because I have so much appreciation for stage managers, and I don't think they get enough credit for the immense amount of work they do. They aren't mentioned in reviews and press releases. They don't win awards, but in many instances, they really are the most important person in the room. A great PSM will make a show better. And we have some great ones with us today. So Drew, let's bring on our guests.
Alrighty, our first guest is going to be Cody Renard Richard. The Broadway productions worked on Broadway productions of Freestyle Love Supreme, Hamilton, and Kinky Boots. Hey, Cody.
Hello.
Drew, you were close. Richard, Cody Renard Richard. You even asked. I was there for it.
Dang it!
Because there's
a fancy way too.
I know. Sorry.
So close.
I know. All right, our second guest is Kristin Colvin Young. Hello, Kristin.
Hello, how are you?
Alvin Ailey, stage manager. Thank you so much for joining us. And our Cirque du Soleil stage manager, Carolanne Morgan. Hello, Carolanne.
Hey there, how are you?
Doing good. Thank you so much for joining us. And last and certainly not least, stage manager for the Goodspeed Opera House, Brad Spachman. Hello, Brad.
Hi, folks. How's everybody?
Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We're going to dive right in. So I think let's start with Kristin, since you've most recently actually worked, right? You just finished something with Alvin Ailey?
Yes. We just wrapped filming a film for our virtual season.
Cool. For people who've been watching, we're going to start a little bit differently, and we're going to ask because all of our guests have worked during the pandemic, we want to begin by speaking a little bit about what they've done and how it went. So where did you work? What was the project? And was there a live audience?
No, there was no live audience. So typically Ailey does a December season at New York City Center. And this year we're not going to be able to do that. So in place of that, we're doing a virtual season. It will be the normal 5 weeks, but it will not be a different program every evening. Everything will run for a week at a time. So what we were doing this past week is we were filming 2 pieces. One, our signature work, Revelations by Alvin Ailey, that was choreographed in 1960. It's celebrating an anniversary this year. And so Matthew Rushing, our associate artistic director, has worked with Mr. Battle, our artistic director, to reimagine Revelations for this time. So we filmed it in 2 different locations. And then also Matthew, along with 2 other choreographers, Kristin Brown and Usha Marie Sorzano, they have just choreographed in this past week, before we got to filming and now in filming, a piece called Testament. That was a collaborative work with the 3 of them, and also working with the dancers, getting content from them before they finalized the project. So both of those were filmed on location at Wave Hill in the Bronx, and then also at the Ailey City Group Theater, which is the black box theater in our building here in Manhattan.
Yeah, great. Cool. Cody, how about you? What did you do? You've done something over the last.
Yeah, I've done two events in person. The first of two, I worked on the VMAs, the MTV VMAs this year. And we did have a live audience. We shot all over New York, but one of our locations was in Brooklyn at I forget the name of the space, a drive-in space right on the water. And we had about 50 audience members who were in cars, who sat on their cars and kind of cheered on the performances that we had. So I worked on that. And then I did a music video just recently for Broadway Inspirational Voices. There was no
fun. That's cool. Was this the one? This was on a barge, right? This was the award show that was on the barge, or is that something else?
That might be so. We were supposed to be on a barge, but a lot of things happened. So we shot on top of at Hudson Yards at the new Sky deck.
Cool.
And then we were down in Brooklyn, and then just at random locations throughout New York.
So Cody, who set the protocols? Like who decided what was safe and what wasn't safe for this?
We had a bunch of different COVID compliance officers, one of which had worked with MTV and on the VMAs before. He had a different title, so he was used to how the awards show usually is set up. So he kind of guided that, and then he had his team that saw and put everything into place.
Cool. Carolanne, how about you? You were recently working on something also?
During the beginning of the pandemic, did quite a fair share of virtual productions. Dived in with some friends who were working on producing virtual cabarets and scripted work as well. Even put on the old producer hat for a moment. Working with Cirque du Soleil, I have certainly fallen charm and adoration to the circus community and circus performers who, like all of us in the entertainment industry, are resilient. And just couldn't sit still and needed some way to work, as we all do. So we were able to do an international live stream on Twitch with circus performers from around the world, which was great, and great to see everyone working in their rooms. And then recently starting to work IRL, and as they say, back in real life, with members of the circus community coming together. There's a friend of ours who is, we're working on a show in development currently.
So you're developing something now that will, once we're all allowed to stand in front of an audience, will be performed.
Tis the hope. It was created as a COVID conscious venue, an outside venue. It's a full pitch.
Smart. Great. Brad, how about you? You did something a little different than what you do.
Yeah. I mean, the Goodspeed's known for their large-scale musicals in tiny spaces, but because we can't be in the tiny spaces, we put on just some outdoor concerts. The theater's along the banks of the Connecticut River, and we had two groups come up in August and September and perform for us. We had the Playbillies, and they were amazing. They do bluegrass versions of show tunes, if you can imagine such a thing. And then a group called the Seat of the Pants Band. David Lutkin, who's a Broadway performer, has some friends he plays with, and they came up for about 3 weeks as well. And we did live performances out on the lawn. It was really fun. The audiences loved it.
Yeah. So really quick, what did you feel safe? I mean, I think that's the question that so many people want to know. You were working, you were with people. Brad, did you feel safe? Would you do it again?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, first of all, it was A, outside, but B, like everybody, we're staying up on the medical stuff these days. So I'm able to, judge my own personal risk tolerance and say, you know what, I'm definitely going to stand 12 feet away from you and keep my mask on versus I'm going to stand 6 feet away from you, depending on, what the situation is. So it was really easy for us. Sure.
Carolanne, did you feel safe? Do you, as you're working on this thing currently? I mean, you're in Vegas, so I think, everything's different in Vegas, I think.
That's true. We're certainly working every day to ensure that we are doing the best we can. Indeed, we're relying on the medical information that's coming through, but it's not always super crystal clear. So being sure that everyone's on the same page and following the same guidelines has been really important and key to us. And so far, super successful.
Yeah. How about you, Cody?
I definitely felt safe. There was with the VMAs, because we were in such a large venue and we can spread out, we had different zoning areas. So depending on like your badge color, you're only allowed in certain zones. So people were able to physically distance themselves. We had, everyone wore masks and the proper PPE. So I think for me, I felt completely safe. Yeah.
Cool. And Kristin, how about you?
Sure. In our building, we have strict guidelines, and we have 3 cohorts that the dancers are split up between 3 studios. So within the building, I felt very safe. And then on location, we were outside most of the time, and everyone was compliant. We let the dancers obviously take their masks off when it was time to film, but everyone was really good. We have a good Ailey forward modeled after NY forward. So we're doing really well.
Good. I'm glad. It's really great to hear that anything's happening at all. I mean, even if it's not very much, it's nice that people are doing things.
Yeah. And Kristin, I'll stick with you with the pandemic aside now. What kind of work do you normally do and where?
I work for Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater as my full-time job. I've their production stage manager now. I've been with the company for 20 years.
Wow.
So yeah.
Cool.
Long time.
Yeah.
And Cody?
Yeah, I live in New York City. I primarily work on Broadway, but I've also worked in television. I've worked with Cirque du Soleil. I've done a bunch of off-Broadway gigs and work in events, and I also teach. I just started teaching at NYU this semester.
Oh, fantastic!
Awesome.
We had who did we have on from NYU? Embarrassing.
ML.
We had ML Geiger.
Oh, yeah.
We had ML Geiger on, who was great. So Cody, you'll have to come back when we have teachers on, because that's a whole other thing that we do. We want to talk to teachers about.
Okay. Yeah.
More on that.
Yeah. That'll be great.
Yeah.
Brad, I'll go to you next.
Kind of like Kristin, I've been in one place for 25 years now, working at the Goodspeed on the stage management team. I've been the PSM on the Opera House stage since 2007, and coming up on, well, I guess it would have been close to 100 productions if this year had happened.
Right.
But
You'll still get that cake. You will have your 100th. Someone better bring you a cake.
Chocolate cake.
Mm-hmm.
So anybody watching, chocolate cake, that's what Brad wants.
Donald.
Carolanne, what about you?
I've been touring the world's hotel rooms and parking lots with Cirque du Soleil Big Tops tours for about 10 years.
Oh, wow.
So usually on the road with them. Yeah.
What's great is that we have 4 people who have been doing this for a while. So Carolanne, let's stay with you. Where did it begin for you? How did it start? And how did you get where you are today?
The town's community theater, honestly.
Cool.
Starting as a young teenager, I think I probably was billed as a stage manager at like 14. I think it was a production of a Christmas and was bit by the bug. I believe I was called into the principal's office for doing scene change paperwork instead of calculus in math class, and just haven't stopped since. Went to stage management school, actually with my dear friend Cody here.
Cool.
Yeah, and there we are.
I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good segue. Cody, where did you start? How did it start for you?
I fell into it. I was pushed into it. My high school, I was a student in high school and junior high who had a lot of energy. So I was constantly in the principal's office because I was a class clown. So I was pushed into the theater as a place for me to direct all this energy that I had. And my high school theater director, very early on had me start stage managing the shows. I was kind of like her right-hand person, and I would, gather all the props, and I would do all the technical stuff, and I would sort of assist and direct with her as well. So I started stage managing in high school. It was kind of like a way to harness all my energy. And then I went to Webster with Carolanne, and that's kind of where it started.
I was about to ask, where did you guys go to school?
St. Louis.
There it is.
Cool. It's funny that pointed you towards theater. Like, I don't know. That's the place to work things out. I mean, I feel like it might be the place to get worse. I don't know. Isn't that what we all do?
I don't know. I think, it's just art. It's like being around people. And I don't know. It worked for me. I don't know if it worked for everyone, but they were onto something.
Well, clearly it did, and here you are on the Four Wall Sunday Roundtable. So, right. Kristin, how about you? Where did you start?
I got the bug for backstage in high school, doing the plays and the musicals in high school. But when I went to college, things really came together. I was a dance and sociology major at Mount Holyoke College, where I thought I wanted to be on stage, and actually I was much better backstage. So I stage managed all 4 years there. And then after I graduated, I went to Jacob's Pillow, and I did their intern program for a summer, met David Parsons, and was hired by him to tour the world with him for 3 years. His company, the Parsons Dance Company, I was assistant stage manager, company manager, and wardrobe all in one for 3 amazing years at the late 90s. And then I ended up at Ailey as their ASM for 4 years. And then I was promoted, and I've been there.
Amazing. I saw a lot of Parsons back in the 90s. That's when I was first in New York, and I was at the Joyce all the time. And huge fan of Parsons Company.
I miss the Joyce a lot. I love City Center, but the Joyce is sort of where I cut my teeth and grew up a lot. So I do miss that theater.
Yep. We've had Chris Chambers on the show, who I think, does he still works for Parsons? I'm not sure if he still.
Last I checked.
Yeah. Does anyone work anywhere? Brad, where did you start?
Kind of like everybody else, a little bit of high school, a little bit of college, but mostly I was a band geek. And when I got to Northwestern University, I met with the director of bands because I wanted to play in pit orchestras. And he just kind of looked at me and looked at my resume and was like, nah, go talk to this other guy. He can let you run a spotlight. So first I failed as a musician. I worked as an electrician throughout college and got my apprenticeship at the Goodspeed actually as an electrician. And I failed there as an electrician. The master electrician at the time had me around, and he went home to his wife and he's like, I got this kid who thinks he knows everything. He ought to be a stage manager. So I morphed over to that side of the program and have been here ever since. They keep trying to get rid of me, but I'm still here.
So you were an ASM at the Goodspeed Opera House. Yeah,
I ASM'd for 8 years on the Opera House stage and kind of bounced around a little bit and did a couple of studio shows as well. And then the longtime PSM, Donalyn Hilton, became our producer, and she took a step up the ladder. So I took a step up the ladder. And I've been, like I said, the PSM there since 2007 now.
And she is still there, and you are still there.
Can't get rid of either. So it was actually her husband who was the ME.
I was going to say, Jay is still there.
Yeah, Jay's still here as well, though he's now head of sound. He's mostly our resident sound designer.
That's right. He's the sound designer.
Yeah.
So you assisted Cody. Did you assist people coming up? Is that where you started actually working professionally?
Yeah, absolutely. I started assisting in summer stocks and all that stuff when I was in college. And then I moved to New York City with a job with Cirque du Soleil, actually at Madison Square Garden. That was my first big show in New York. I was one of the assistants on that. Cool. And then, a string of non-paid PA gigs off Broadway. And then I started assisting on Broadway. And then that led to essentially where I am now.
Yeah. And Carolanne, did you as well assist, or did you?
Did. Yeah, summer stock in college, of course, and then it wasn't long before I think I did a non-equity tour, and then was picked up with Cirque. Luckily, quite soon after graduating from school, so I've been with them for most of my professional career. Nice. As an assistant to start with, for sure.
Yep. Excellent. Drew, let's move on. What else we got?
Yeah, Brad, I'll start with you. Can you just give us a general description of what you do on a project from when you first begin through opening night?
I know the cliff notes. Like I know we can spend 2 hours.
You could go into a giant deep dive here, but basically
it's an hour show.
Yeah, the 60-second synopsis. break down the show, see what production elements are needed, talk with the director and the creative team, all the designers involved, lighting designers, projection designers, sound design, everybody, see what they're going to do, work with the producers on the schedule. I have a great luxury of being at a resident or not a resident company, but as a resident stage manager. We kind of have a basic format. This is how the season goes. We've got 4 weeks of rehearsal. We do 12 weeks of performances. We do 4 weeks of rehearsal, et cetera, et cetera. Right. So it's all very, very laid out from a schedule point of view. So I don't have to worry about too much like that. I know a lot of folks in the freelance world have a lot more an interaction and combination with general managers and things. For me, I've been here so long, they just kind of let me take the ball and run. The cast shows up, we rehearse the show, we tech the show, we perform the show, I hand it over to my assistant, we rehearse the next show, and it just goes on from there. It's a never-ending battle until 2020.
Is that kind of the main description for everybody else, or does anybody else want to add anything, or what's different in each?
Certainly different from my experience.
Sure.
Okay.
10 years. From where the projects when I arrive at the project working for Cirque, sometimes you come in and the show's already been running for 7 years, or more. It's already been running for a while. It's already quite established, and bless my heart, when I first started, I was like, great, we're going to do 8 shows a week and have all the rest of the time off. Even we do on the road, we're doing up to 300 shows a year. Varying with wherever we may be in the schedules. But it's as with everything else, it's always changing. And because we don't have a worded script to stick with, certainly we have our music and our acts and our storyline, but because they are so long running, they need that. They thrive on that creative energy to change them constantly. And, certainly we have folks going in and out, and when you're doing high risk acrobatics, your risk of injury goes up. So that turnover is higher as well. So we're certainly constantly changing the show more than I certainly ever thought coming into it, even as a stage manager.
Yeah.
So almost doing that process, but on a daily micro way.
Yeah. And Kristin, for you, it's more, is it piece by piece? I mean, you're presented a new work and you.
Yes, we're a repertory company, so there might be 3 new pieces going up at the same time that are being simultaneously worked on in various stages. And then also you have the repertory part of it, where we have all of our historical works. So you're doing research on the last time we did it. Do costumes even exist? Where's the choreography? How many videotapes do we have in existence? And all sorts of those things. So it's a little bit more of a harried sort of process, just putting it all together at the same time.
Sure. And Cody, I imagine what you do is similar to what Brad does, but in commercial theater, are there differences that you can put your finger on?
I mean, for me, it's kind of a hybrid between Brad and Kristin, because I work on so many different projects. So each project comes with a new challenge, I guess. But for the most part, you break it down the same. You figure out what the production needs are, and then you do your best to make sure that those are met. So it's essentially the same structure.
Yeah. So after the show opens, the entire creative team is gone, and you're left in charge, basically. I mean, is that right? The stage manager is the one who. I mean, and maybe I don't know.
Kristin's shaking her head. No,
Kristin's shaking her head.
I want to go to there.
Not in. So Brad and Cody, maybe Brad and Cody. Then is that the case? Are you kind of running the show at that point, or is it different?
Yeah, I mean, the buck ends up stopping with me on a daily basis. Of course, the creative team's always available via any communication methods necessary. If I have a question that can't be answered, and the producers are always hanging around saying, did you think of this? And I'm like, yes, I thought of that. But on a day-to-day basis, the buck stops with me for the most part.
And Kristin, tell us what's different about dance.
Well, in our company, our artistic directors tour with us, and they're there at every performance. And most of the choreographers we work with right now are alive, and they are either with us on the road because they're in the company, or they meet us at different places, or they're here in the city and they see the New York City Center season. So No, I'm not left without them. There's notes to be taken every single time we do their work. And then also with technology, I mean, they see footage that I'm not even sure that I knew about, and then you get notes. So, but I enjoy that because then it's alive and there's a process and it keeps moving. It's not just like we say goodbye to it after opening night and we don't ever regroup. I think we regroup a lot, which is great. No, I appreciate that.
And Carolanne, you guys keep breaking performers, so you're involved all the time. I think that's, I mean,
it's not always us. Sometimes it's voluntary. Okay, they jump off things on their own. Always thrill seekers. But certainly we have an artistic director that travels with us. We also have what we call a senior artistic director who's back at headquarters, who's overseeing multiple shows. So they're certainly there as an artistic guide, but then we have a team of directors on site and a company manager who travels with us as well. And we look to that team for decision making as far as operations. And when your site is a tent, when your venue is a tent, sometimes operations certainly tell you what you're going to be doing that day rather than what you'd like to be doing.
Yeah, I'm sure. Now, do you approach the day differently if you're working in a tent to whether you're working in an arena or a theater? Do you, as a stage manager, have a different mindset, or is it still putting up a show that's start to finish?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say that it's still putting up a show start to finish, but you have the elements at play. But just if you were in a theater, you may have all of these, multiple elements at play that you may be able to control. They may be uncontrollable.
Right.
Certainly, we're dealing with whatever Mother Nature has to offer that day as well. So we make the procedures for those, and we understand how wind affects certain acts in our show, how water may affect certain acts in the show, and we go from there.
Cool. Cody, do you want to add anything to that about your experiences on Broadway? I mean, as far as what a PSM does once the show's open?
Essentially, yeah. Once the show opens, everyone runs away onto their next project. So we are the eyes in the theater, and everyone comes to us for any information or for us to take the lead on what needs to happen. Sometimes there's a resident director who's usually the associate director that stays with the show. But even then, they're not in the theater every day. So when they come in, they mainly deal with notes with the cast, and we kind of collaborate on what needs to happen there. But for the most part, it's usually the PSM that takes over once the show is open.
Got it. All right. So this next thing we're going to talk about, we could actually do an entire hour on this, but we're not going to do that. But Brad, let's go to you next. So when people speak about collaboration, it's often between designers or between designer and director. And the collaboration between stage manager and everyone else is not really discussed often enough. So understanding that this is a broad question, so maybe the answer can be a little broad. Can you talk about your relationship with the people you work with, the performers, director, choreographer, writers, designers, ASM, stagehands, crew, anyone else on a project you feel that you collaborate with? What does collaboration mean to you?
Well, it means listening mostly for me. I think would probably be one of the biggest things that I try to accomplish. You have an idea of what the goal is. Once the show is open, the goal is the show's at 8:00 tonight. When you're in tech, you got to try to get through this much so that you can get to Friday at 8:00 when there's butts in the seats.
Right.
If I'm listening to everybody, I am the one who's taking in their information, their wants, their needs, and trying to balance that so that everybody is, as I jokingly say, equally unhappy. But I try to minimize the unhappiness as much as I can. A lot of times you'll have a director who's like, I never tried to solve this problem at the Goodspeed. How do you do it? There's actually that sort of direct collaboration happens as well. But in a very broad way, it's really trying to bring everybody together in the service of either making the show happen that night, getting through the technical rehearsal process, whatever the goal is for that day is probably my greatest collaborative contribution to the effort.
Yeah.
Yes. Before we go on to the next person, speaking of collaboration, can we talk about this?
God.
This is some collaboration if I've ever seen it before in my life.
I've never tucked my shirt in. That was a long time ago.
That was a long time ago. I don't remember what show that was.
I'm going to say Baker's Wife, probably. How about that? Thank you for that one.
No problem.
Look at that. And now, where were we? End of show. Show's over.
That I think was some four-wall collaboration right there.
That's right. Thanks, Brad.
Thanks for the collaboration too. Kristin, what is it like for you? How do you collaborate with the people who when putting a piece together?
I think like what Brad was saying about how you are the sort of the hub of communication, whether it's taking what the artists are doing and then putting it back to management and things like that. It's for me, it's a little bit more on the intimate side because we do have a company that works all the time together. So it's really about making sure that our inner circle of what's happening within the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater is running smoothly, but then expanding that circle so that the guest choreographers that we have coming in or any of the guest lighting designers that we have, and we work with tons of people, every single season. So it's just making sure that that is all put together. I like to think of myself in particular as an advocate within the company. I like to advocate for the artists and what they feel like they're not able to use for their voice and how to get their wants and their needs out there. And then the same for artistic directors coming back to the dancers. So it's really just about a hub of communication, taking the information in and putting it out to the right people and then getting everyone to just run smoothly.
And Cody, how about you in your world?
I love what you just said. I think that's so important, advocating for our artists, because someone has to. But essentially the same thing, collaboration is just making sure that we understand the needs of the team, the needs of the cast, and making sure that we can facilitate that. And a lot of that is managing expectations and just checking in and keeping the lines of communication flowing. And I think that's why we collaborate with every department, because we are that main communication hub. So it's our job to understand what their needs are and making sure that all the goals are met. So I feel like that's one of the main ways we collaborate is advocating A, and then B, understanding what needs to happen.
Yeah. Carolanne, in your world, is it different or is it the same? Just different people, but same thing. What do you think?
Certainly, the foundations are the same. Listening and advocating for the artists and collaborating and understanding the needs of each, and not only department, but the individual people that make up those departments. And, sometimes when you're building those schedules or making a plan, the smallest change can make or break someone's day or the whole process. So understanding what that is and in playing with that puzzle. But for me, a lot more collaboration I've found in the acrobatic world comes from understanding what those bodies are doing, and especially not being a body that can do that myself, and really understanding, someone may need X amount of time for something I think would take, certainly a lot longer, and understanding the safety procedures and the safety environment all around that, and what steps they need to get to that ultimate last performance, and working with our coaches to understand that, working with the artist specifically, and then the acrobatic equipment that supports them as well. It's truly a team effort. All of it is, of course, but when we're looking at those, say we're bringing in a new piece of equipment or a new act, we're understanding a new acrobatic terminology, vocabulary. That we look for points of failure and collaborate together to find all of the particular ways that it could go wrong. Certainly, it will inevitably go wrong a different way than we've imagined, but certainly find our top 5. Okay, and then what are we going to do to get out of these? And then practicing and understanding all of those outs or safeties before we ever perform that piece.
Yeah, and the more complicated the production, the more important that is. I mean, obviously Cirque does a lot of that, and but even down to throwing the cue light when the wagon or the track and scenery is supposed to come on stage. It's there are lives in your hands as stage managers, and in many cases. So, Brad, I feel like I've worked with you, and I've worked with, full disclosure, I've worked with Brad and Cody, and I know that you both bring an artistry to what you do. Brad, do you see that? Can you describe what that is?
Well, particularly when it relates to lighting designers, we're working probably more closely in a theatrical environment than a lot of the other departments. You're trying to get a particular look on the stage, at a particular time, but you're not there for the whole process. So you rely, I think you would rely on me to know the nuances of the production in such an intimate way that I can execute what you're trying to create on the stage.
Yeah. For sure.
You know, I find it easy for myself because everything's set to music. I can't say I've done more than a handful of plays in my life, and I've never had the fortune to work on dance or, you know, circus type acts. So I can't speak for Carolanne or Kristin, but you know, that's the sort of collaborate. I mean, you tell me too, Jeff. I'll throw it back at you. What do you look for in a stage manager to help you with your job?
What I love about the way both you and Cody work is that you understand the intention of what I'm trying to do as a lighting designer, and and you can interpret it to make it happen in the right place. Basically, you see the whole thing basically, and that's nice. That's helpful. It's easier than spoon feeding. Kristin, have we worked together before? I've worked. That's what I thought. I realized that we have.
Come on, Jeff.
I apologize. As that was coming out of my mouth, I was like, no, wait a minute, no, I'm wrong. But I fixed.
It was many years ago.
And now I remember.
Did he have this shirt?
Basically the same shirt. Cody, do you want to add anything to that?
No, well, thank you for that compliment, Jeff. No, I agree. I think that I think personally for me, the type of artistry that I bring to my work and to collaborating is I'm a very calm presence, and I don't necessarily get worked up over many things. So I think that I am a nice I do well under pressure and bringing people down to where they need to be when we're working under high pressure situations. And I know that about me.
They are high pressure situations. They absolutely are. Carolanne, would you like to add anything to that?
For sure. Being a theater kid and raised in the theater, coming to Cirque so early in my career, I thought I loved it, all of it, and then was introduced to acrobatic show calling and calling flyers on winches and equipment in the air. And there's something exciting for me, and has certainly developed artistry throughout the years of how to marry the marriage of the machine and the performance, and trying to make that magic as those feet come to the ground and how it pushes off. And it's such the nuance and timing and reading those bodies as a script is something that I very much miss.
Yeah. And Kristin, would you like to add anything to that?
Sure. I just want to recognize that our industry, stage management, it is an art form, and I know that my colleagues here, they all work very hard at their craft, and as do I. And it's really nice to just be able to explain, or at least highlight the fact that what we do is just as important as what happens on stage, because you wouldn't be able to see what happened on stage if it weren't for us. When I first started working with David Parsons, his best friend and resident lighting designer for the company, Hal Binkley, he taught me very early on that the stage manager is just as much of a performer as the dancer is, and that there's actually a duet happening. When we did their ballet Caught, it was very obviously a duet. It was the stage manager and the dancer. But I've taken that nugget of wisdom along for every ballet that I've done. It's a marriage and a cooperation between the dancers and the stage managers, and what they do cues what we do, but also how we work also cues them. It's a nice, it's just this amazing teamake, I guess.
Dialogue. It's a dialogue.
Yeah,
really,
it's a dialogue between the performer and what's happening off stage. It very much is. It's a really special relationship. I think all of us can speak about how through the different productions we do, you become very close with your performers, because you are essentially one of them. You're just not there under the lights. You're calling the lights.
Very well said. Absolutely.
I know.
Don't you miss it? I miss working.
I know.
So much.
Yeah, even more now.
It's true. It's such an intimate relationship, and Kristin, it's so nice to hear that from a colleague on another facet of the industry.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. We're of course running long on time, but we said that maybe there'd be a story to tell. So I'm going to ask: does anyone have a quick little anecdote that they want to, give us, tell our audience? Is there anything you've been dying to get off your chest? Something that's happened in your career that has been so phenomenal or hilarious that people must know?
I'm trying to think of something funny.
No, it's okay.
Remember that time we had jobs?
Someday, Drew, we will get to story time on this show. We keep trying and we keep running out of
I have
time.
one. I can tell a story.
Yeah,
Cody.
Opening night of Motown the musical on Broadway. After the show, the creative team comes on stage and they usually give speeches. Because this show was Motown and a lot of the artists were still alive. Berry Gordy, Diana Ross, all these insanely famous folks came on stage to speak. In the audience was Stevie Wonder, and he heard everyone on stage speaking. So he gets up and starts walking to the stage. And I hear over headset, "Oh, Stevie Wonder is now coming to the stage." We only had house steps on the house right side of the theater, and he's on the house left side of the theater, walking to the front of the stage. And the next thing we know, he is trying to crawl over the orchestra pit to get onto the stage. And at this point, my PSM is in my ear yelling, like, "What do? We need house management." So I grab our production cart. We run out onto the stage and we literally pull Stevie Wonder up onto the stage. And I'll never, ever forget that.
Cody, I was there. I was
Were you?
in the audience. I was there. I could not believe what I was seeing. Oh my God, Stevie Wonder's about to fall into an orchestra.
There are pictures of me and Jeff Zink, who was our production carpenter on Broadway World, literally pulling Stevie Wonder to the stage.
And I feel like someone got up from one of the first rows to push him.
I'm sure they did. I'm sure.
Oh my God, it was. My mouth didn't close for minutes after that. I can't believe what I'm watching. Great story.
Thanks, Cody.
Anyone else have anything? Going once, going twice.
Oh, I'll tell one.
Yeah.
Great, please.
So I tour. I know that Carolanne, you've been on the road with Cirque and stuff. So there's always a great tour story at the end of every tour, at least. But one that sticks out the most, and I just absolutely love the crew for this, is that we were at the Herodaticus in Greece, in Athens, and it's an outdoor venue. It's thousands of years old at the base of the Parthenon. And so we were setting it up one night, and you have to set it up at night because it's an outdoor venue and your lighting designer has to make sure that everything looks right at night. So we're doing our load in, we've just rolled the Marley out, and the heavens just open up and it starts to pour. And most people would probably just pack it up and say, all right, well, we'll come back later. We'll wait it out. We'll do this. Well, the Alvin Ailey crew, we're not like normal people. We stuck it out. We said, maybe we'll just wait and stuff. And it didn't stop and it didn't stop. So we could have gone away, but we also could have turned it into a slip and slide, which is what we did.
Yeah.
So we had a bottle of Jack and we had a couple shots and and we just rode across that Marley for a good half an hour just on our stomachs, just having a really, really great time. So,
and that is why we do what we do.
Yeah.
The good times. Just, hard times.
If the set has a hot tub in it, why not use the hot tub after the show? I'm not saying I ever did that, but when I'm not saying that the props department replaced the prop liquor with actual liquor so we could use the hot tub, that certainly didn't happen ever at the Goodman Theater in Chicago.
See? Everyone, it is a great job. Join the theater, join the circus. Drew?
Well, it's time for my favorite part of these. Well, we just started it 2 episodes, but it's my favorite part of doing this. We call it the
Jeff's Roundtable Rapid Fire.
And that was my voice. I am available for hire to do a voiceover. That's the
First time. That was amazing. That's great. Sorry, I'm still reacting to I love it. This is only the 3rd time we're doing this. It's too bad that we're so far into the show because I feel like this is becoming people's favorite part. But everything's really important.
Mm-hmm.
All right, here we go. Cody, we're going to start with you. Cody, the first professional show you called.
Oh, I think it was Kiss Me Kate at Hope Summer Repertory Theater.
Amazing. Kristin.
Parsons Dance Company at it was George Mason University was my first one.
Carolanne.
OVO with Cirque du Soleil.
And Brad.
The Mousetrap Wagon Wheel Theater in Indiana.
All right. Wow. Staying with Brad, favorite tech table snack?
Oh, it's got to be Oreos and Chips Ahoy cookies from the green room downstairs.
It is nice what they do down there. Carolanne.
A Snickers for sure.
Coffee.
Yeah. Cody.
Peanut butter M&Ms.
Ooh, good. Staying with Cody, first thing you do when you walk into work, when you walk into the theater, what's the first thing you do?
Speak to everyone.
Yeah. Kristin.
It depends on the day, but if we're talking about going to the theater, usually greet everyone with a smile.
Carolanne.
Make those rounds, indeed. Check in, see how everyone's doing.
And Brad.
Man, you're all assuming the lights are already on. I turn on the lights.
Excellent. Brad, staying with you, what is an important skill needed to do what you do?
Attention to detail.
Kristin.
Multitask, like lots of things.
Carolanne.
Creative problem solving.
And Cody.
Patience.
Yeah. Staying with Cody, best advice you were given by anyone, mentor, anyone?
Oh man. Oh goodness. To trust my journey.
Kristin.
I guess the advice I give, which I got from someone else a long time ago, be bold.
Carolanne.
Even if you know the answer, just let them work it out. They'll get there.
Not always. Brad.
Know where the copy paper is stored.
Great advice from everyone. Thank you for that. Brad, staying with you, something that excites you about what you do?
Getting to the theater and saying go for Q1.
Yeah. Carolanne.
Ooh, that got me. I'll take a house to half.
Kristin.
I'm sorry. Say the question again. I got distracted.
Something that excites you about what you do?
Oh, travel tour.
Cool. Yeah. And Cody.
I love a sits probe.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's fun. Staying with Cody, an innovation that has made your job easier, not other than computers.
Does this count?
It counts. Yes, I probably should have said other than cell phones too, but I didn't. So it counts.
We'll write that in. We'll write that in for next time.
Yeah, that's right. Kristin, how about you?
Same thing. Cell phone, definitely.
Carolanne?
Ooh, I won't say technology, but I'll change around. Compassion. I think as we grow and continue, others are learning compassion too, and I think our communication is getting better these days.
Yeah. Brad?
I got to stick with the technology land, but to go to tablets instead. So,
Sure. Brad, something that has gone away that you miss?
Oh, that I miss. I misunderstood. I was going to say the fax machine because, God, I don't miss that.
Well, that could be the answer to the next one. But something that's gone away that you miss?
5-part carbon show report forms.
Wow. Yes. Oh my God. Kristin.
I don't know how to. How do I go after that?
You can
come on, the smell of the carbon paper. It's just delicious.
You can pass. You're allowed to pass.
Yeah, well, I just miss in-person meetings. I'm sorry, the Zoom is killing me. So I'm gonna do like a big I miss in-person.
Totally
meeting.
agree.
This is premium.
Carolanne, something that has gone away that you miss?
I'll take 2. Applause for sure. I haven't heard it in way too long. Like live applause. And something I don't miss is recording rehearsal hotlines.
Yes.
Ooh.
Don't do that.
Cody, something that has gone away. This was supposed to be something that's gone away pre-COVID, but the answer is it's true. So
too hard.
Something that's gone away that you miss.
That's hard because all I can think about is with COVID. I was going to say I missed my job. I missed working.
All right. So, Cody, least favorite thing you have to do as part of your job?
Oh goodness, being a parent to actors who don't want to act like adults.
We should end it right there, but we're not. Kristin.
Ripping gaff tape. I hate
Carolanne.
ripping tape.
You just discipline. for sure.
Yeah. And Brad?
Mopping the studio floor.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Staying with Brad, favorite part of the process for you?
Well, everything right now, but generally it's that first day of rehearsal, all the fresh faces, everybody coming in. It's just the possibilities are limitless at that point.
And Kristin?
Whoops.
Oh, seeing it all come together when the curtain goes up for what happens, and then when the curtain comes down and just what it was.
Carolanne?
Certainly working with artists for sometimes many years as artist development, especially if they were the one that you were having to discipline so much before.
Yeah. Cody?
Oh my God, so many came to mind, but I'm gonna go tag on to what Carolanne said and say one of my favorite parts is seeing an understudy go on for the first time after really working with them for a while.
That's great. So this next one is kind of similar to what we already did, but Cody, what's the hardest part of your job?
Oh, the time commitment.
Great answer. Kristin?
I work-life balance.
Yep. And Carolanne?
Work-life balance.
Brad?
I'm going to just say, the time commitment. Plus, I'm also going to tag on to the discipline thing. That's just a challenge at times.
Yeah. All right. The last question. Let's start with Cody. What do you miss most about live entertainment being shut down? What do you miss most about live entertainment being shut down?
Oh man, I miss hugs. I miss interacting with people. I miss problem solving with people. I miss the people. I miss collaborating with other people in person. I miss that quite a lot.
Yep. Kristin?
I would echo everything that he just said. I miss the human interaction, and I just miss the energy. We're the most unseen people in the theater, and I just miss feeding off of everyone else's energy from the audience, front of house, everyone on stage. I miss the people, front and backstage.
Yep. Carolanne?
I think I miss the reminders, the hard days when you're walking up to the booth to call the show and you feel like the weight of the world is on you, and you walk past that little kid that is so excited to be there, or it's intermission, you just watch something, and just being reminded that we're connecting and telling stories and reminding the world that we're truly all the same.
Yep. Bad.
Yeah, I miss the nightly storytelling and the truth that comes over those footlights, that interaction with the audience. I crave it.
Yeah. Do you have music to take us out of this, Drew?
Well, that was episode 22's segment of
Jeff's Roundtable Rapid Fire.
There we go.
You guys were great. You guys were the best yet. Best panel yet.
Yeah.
All right. We are over, but we're gonna continue a couple minutes more so we can just find out what everyone's doing now. Actually, so first, Brad, what were you doing when you were told to shut down? You were about to do a show? Where were you?
Yeah, I was literally walking around the rehearsal studio and the shops with our set designer and director of our spring 2020 show, South Pacific. We were doing subgroup production meeting the day before rehearsals began, and we shut down at 5:00 that Monday, and there was no first rehearsal on Tuesday. So,
Carolanne, what about you? Where were you when we were told?
Yeah, I was in Montreal. I was actually not in the show in operation. We were in creation for Cirque. It was meant to be a big top opening in April 2020, and we thought we were going to be sneaky and get away with it because we had counted and we were under the current limit of people at the time, and we didn't have an audience. But I remember, I think we were validating a straps act and looked at, got the NHL had canceled. And I was like, all right, bye. Canada's not playing hockey. We're definitely not doing circus.
Yeah. Cody, where were you? What were you about to do?
I was in rehearsal for a workshop with Disney that Thursday that the world shut down, and I was supposed to leave that following Monday to start rehearsals for a Broadway-bound musical called Lempicka out at La Jolla. Obviously, didn't happen, but that's what I was up to at the time.
Yeah. And Kristin, were you about to?
I was on tour And we had just arrived at a hotel, and we were told that we were going home. So
they
half
sent you
of
home.
our tour.
They didn't make you hang out. They just said get back on the bus.
No, we spent one night. We spent one night in the hotel, and then our super company manager got the entire company rebooked, and most of us went back to New York, but a lot of people went to their parents or to their friends who did not live in the city, because I guess they had the foresight to see that this was going to be a lot longer than just a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't. I didn't think it was going to be a couple of weeks, but I certainly didn't think we'd be here where we are now. But did you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I thought it would be a couple of months. I thought at least by now we would be back to doing something. I knew the summer was out, but I didn't think it was going to be.
Some countries are back to doing things.
Yeah, but then they're about to stop also in some of those countries that were back to doing things. So we'll be back.
We'll be back for sure.
Different, but back. Yeah.
In the meantime, what have you guys been up to? Kristin, what have you, other than work, what have you guys been up to?
I got married.
Oh, congratulations.
Congratulations.
You guys had time to get married.
Yeah. I got married this summer, and did a whole lot of homeschooling, and now we're back to homeschooling.
Yeah.
And but trying to keep busy. Super grateful to be back to work at some capacity, because it's really nice to feel value outside the home. Yeah. And to do paperwork and to deal with frustrating schedules and things like that. So I'm thrilled to be back at it. But yeah, kept busy this summer.
It's good. And Brad, how about you? What have you been up to? Cooking anything?
I was lucky, actually. I scored 10 pounds of flour early in the quarantine. So I've been scratching my baking itch and doing 10 years of deferred maintenance on the house. So a lot of handyman stuff.
Did you find yeast also, or just flour?
I had 2 pounds of yeast, so that was no problem.
Carolanne, how about you?
Carolanne, like, I'll sell you some.
That's a whole nother colony. Certainly working on that work-life balance and taking that time to understand that. Moved to Vegas and really understanding how to not be on the road. I did not know what to do next after I reached into my first olive oil bottle. And I still haven't figured out who changes the sheets or takes out the trash, but I'm working on it.
Because you've been on the road. For everyone who's listening, it's because you're a touring stage manager, not because you don't know how to do these things.
Well, I feel like an adult, but these days I'm not sure. So
yeah. Cody, how about you?
I've been I guess this is work, but not really. I started a scholarship program, and I've also been doing a lot of outreach about racial equity in the theater and just in general, which is a different type of work, but it's also a passion.
Yes.
I guess for fun, I started collecting plants. So I have I have 25 plants now. I had 0 in March.
Oh
so
my
that's
God.
another thing I've been doing.
You're going to have to hire, when we go back to work, you're going to have to hire a plant person.
Right, someone to watch over that's why I didn't get a dog. I knew that I wouldn't be able to
eventually
handle a dog. Yeah.
Can you plug the scholarship? Is that something you can tell? Is that something you can tell us what it is?
Absolutely.
Please tell us what the scholarship is.
So I just founded a scholarship program with Broadway Advocacy Coalition, which is an organization that I've worked with for a couple of years now. They are really big on educating people on how to be advocates for each other and more specifically for racial and social justice. This scholarship program is for non-performance majors who identify as BIPOC, so Black, Latinx, Asian, Indigenous people of color. And the scholarship is 2 parts. There's a $1,500 grant that they receive, and then the other part, they go through a program to where they do 3 seminars that are focused on leadership, racial justice, and their specific concentration. So it's kind of a mentorship aspect as well as a financial component that goes along with it.
Amazing. That's amazing. I'm so happy to hear that. There has been talk about doing that for the lighting community as well. So hopefully that will happen. But I think it's great. It's really great to hear. And if anyone's listening who knows anyone who's interested, is there a website to go to?
There is. It's my website is codyrenard.com/scholarship. So if anyone's listening who wants to donate as well, we are accepting donations year round. And if you have anyone who wants to apply, please send them our way. Or if you want to partner in some way, I've been talking to a lot of regional theaters about figuring out ways that we can set up internships and kind of make it a pathway for people to have accessibility to a lot of things they normally wouldn't.
Thank you. Thank you for doing that. And thanks
Yeah,
for that
of course.
explanation. It sounds amazing. Okay, we have one more question before we do that. Kate said something very nice that we're going to bring in. What, yes. And Kate's seen all of them, so she knows.
Yep, she said, this is a very moving panel. Thank you, everyone. You're breaking my heart, but it's a good kind of pain. So thank you, Kate, for that.
Thank you, Kate. All right. Here we are. Here we've come to the end. Brad, what advice do you have for young people who want to do what you do?
Don't study what this is. I have a chemistry degree. Be broad. It lets you relate to everybody. It lets you relate to the creative team on one side of the table. It lets you relate to the actors on the other side of the table. Have a broad experience. The technical aspects of this job are, I won't say easy to learn, but it's stage management. It's about the people. Yeah,
great. I don't know if it's easy to learn because you guys are good at it. It might be. Anyway, Kristin, what about you?
Going off of what Brad said, if you're going to be an actor, take an acting. If you're going to be a stage manager for theater, take an acting class. If you're going to be a stage manager for dance, take a dance class. If you're going to do it for musicals, take a singing class. Understand what your actors and performers go through, your dancers, what they have to endure, so you have a vocabulary on the same level. But most of all, just be bold. If you want to be in this industry, be bold. Pick up the phone, ask someone to have coffee with you, talk about what their job is and who they are and where you might want to see your life in this environment. We're not above talking to people who want to be in this industry. I think all my colleagues will say that. If someone says, I'm interested, we've got to train the next generation. So just be bold, reach out.
As we've said before on the show many times, now's a really good time to catch these four and many like them, because hopefully soon they'll be very busy and won't be able to return the email quite as quickly. So call them. And Brett, I didn't mean to discount what you were saying, but I was trying to give you a compliment. Like, what you do is, hard.
Thank you. I understood what you meant. It is difficult, but weirdly, that's for me, that's the easy part to learn.
Yeah.
What Kristin was saying about being able to relate to everybody else's experiences can be the challenge.
Yeah. Carolanne, what would you like to add to that?
Certainly building a leadership toolbox and practicing them, understanding how you can be yourself within those models, and understanding how to talk with people and problem solve.
Yeah. And Cody.
Yeah, absolutely what everyone else just said. And also, I will offer to remember that your power is you, that you are the only person who can do what you do. So figure out what you do well and bring that to the room every time. And if whatever that thing is, perfect it. And know that if this is something that you want to do, you can absolutely do it. So just figure that out. Remember that you are your power and bring yourself to the room every time, because that's what people want.
That is so well said. And that's a great way to end our show. Thank you guys so much. Is there anything that any of you want to add or retract or clarify before we let you go? Anything you want to say?
I just want to make sure that that Cody's website information makes it into part of this archive. So that
it is in the chat right now.
Cool.
So people, if they go to the four-wall,
we put it up. It's in the comments.
Yeah.
So they'll be able to click on it, Cody. Yeah. So this show lives on Four Walls YouTube and Facebook. So anybody who watches, it'll be in the comments.
You guys are amazing. We could have kept this going for another 45 minutes, I'm sure. There's so much more to talk about. So we'll have you on again to see how we're doing, even after, even for a 15-minute check-in to see how people are doing, either as we're coming back or right after, or, maybe while we're still sitting around. Thanks, guys. And thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Brad, Carolanne, Kristin, Cody, Renard, Richard. I wanted to get it right before we got off. Thank you again. And everybody will be back next week. So we'll see everybody next week. Thanks again.
Yeah. Thanks.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.